A topic of much debate here in the 21st century United States is the Second Amendment. Many people have questions about what it means, what the people who wrote it intended it to mean, and does it still apply today? Well, sit tight because over the next few minutes, I hope to answer any questions that you may have on the Second Amendment. Let's start with the actual words of the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The structure of that sentence is a little foreign to us here in the 21st century, as we no longer speak in such a manner. There's talk about a militia, the state, bears, and arms. Opponents of an individual's right to bear arms will automatically gravitate to the words well-regulated militia, and generally, without any context, order the words 18th century meaning. In order to understand the context, you have to transport yourself back to the minds of the framers in 1788, and you have to understand their language. You have to first understand that they had just fought a war with the tyrannical British government for independence. A war that was fought for 5 years. A war that was fought with firearms, and a war that was ignited when the British attempted to seize the colony's guns. With the war fresh in their minds, and America a loose conglomerate of individual states, the people of the continent realized the need to unite together to form a union. Unfortunately, a union could mean the very same tyranny all over again if power was placed in the hands of just a few. So the framers explicitly set forth to pen the founding documents in a manner as to limit the power of the government and give it to the people. So I ask this question: who is regulating the militia? Why would the framers call for the regulation of a militia by the government if their express intent was to give the power to the people? The answer is quite simply, they didn't. You see, the phrase well-regulated doesn't refer to the definition to control or supervise by means of rules and regulations. It was a common phrase in the late 18th century whose meaning was closer to operating properly or functioning. A clock that kept good time in the era was said to be well-regulated. So the Second Amendment called for a functioning militia, and the next thing that's uttered out of the mouths of opponents is only the militia can have firearms. That was the intent. So if the militia are the only people to have firearms, who are the militia? George Mason, the father of the Bill of Rights, said it most succinctly when arguing for the ratification of the Constitution in Virginia in 1788. He said, "I ask, sir, what is the militia? It is the whole people, except for a few public officials." The whole people, everybody, you, me, your neighbors, everybody. You can even further understand the meaning of the word militia by looking at the wording of the Second Amendment as it worked its way through Congress. The version that was sent from the House to the Senate on August 24th, 1788 reads, "A well-regulated militia, being composed of the body of the people, being the best security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." They understood the right of the people to keep and bear arms as inalienable, or a right a person has simply by existing. This wasn't even a matter of question. One thing the framers understood was that future corrupt politicians would twist and misconstrue words to fit their political agendas. Furthermore, they even feared penning the right would give future generations the opportunity to bastardize the words they wrote. So after much debate, and to the best ability of the framers with the language of the time, the final version emerged from the House on September 21st, 1789. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So a functioning militia consisting of all the people is necessary to the security of a free state. What is that state? Was it Virginia? Massachusetts? The entire Union? Just like the phrase well-regulated, free state can be construed to mean a number of things. But again, what did the founders intend? Simply put, free state was used in 18th century political discourse to mean free country. The phrase was not used to refer to any particular government entity. It referred to the free people themselves. In modern terms, the first statement in the Second Amendment, if written in today's language, might read, "A well-functioning militia composed of every person is necessary to a free country." The part that comes next cannot be misconstrued, even today. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There are two distinct statements. Well-armed people are necessary to the security of a free country. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And from the ratification of the U.S. Constitution to round about the 1934 National Firearms Act, the phrase shall not be infringed was respected and understood. While the founders may not have fathomed the types of weapons that exist today, did they limit themselves in fighting the British with muskets? No. They not only used muskets, but 24-pound cannons, 12-pound cannons, 8-inch howitzers, 5.5-inch howitzers, and the list goes on. In other words, they fought the British like for like. Since we know that the founders feared the newly formed government eventually might become tyrannical, if you look logically at the situation and ask yourself honestly, you know the answer as to the types of weapons that should be available to the public. I again point to shall not be infringed. Much the same as you would never argue the First Amendment doesn't extend to a computer because computers didn't exist in the 18th century, the intent of the Second Amendment is the same. Also, the last time I checked, politicians are still humans. For all the folks out there that say the Second Amendment is outdated, I assume that men are no longer corruptible. I assume that over the past century, the hundreds of millions of people who have died because they were unarmed didn't die by the hands of corrupt men. I assume as the tentacles of government reach into every moment of your lives, things will never go wrong. If you try to make that argument, I'll first call you a fool, and then I'll point you to these words. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And lastly, for the detractors, check out the links below for the sources and further information. For the rest of us, make sure everyone knows what I just said, and please share this video. If you found this information insightful, drop us a comment, hit the like button below, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the Tin Hat Ranch channel. Thanks for watching.